So I left this comment chain, or this comment, on this video right here. A very nice video. Talked about Imperial Star Destroyer versus the Enterprise. I think they said it would come out in a tie. Let's see, is it 70% said the Star Destroyer would win. 31% said it would be the Enterprise. Those are some. I mean, should be 100% thought the Star Destroyer should win, but still. Okay, going on. So I said, why are all these people saying the Enterprise will win in the comments? Because trust me, there are like a lot of people saying the Enterprise would win in the comments, alright? And so I pointed out these quotes. Now, you've probably read them a billion times before, but, well, not a billion, but let me just read them again. Catalyst said, the jump from Alpine had been torturous, blah blah blah, denuding an entire landmass. Destroying the continental landmass. Okay, that's pretty good. Great chunks of the planet had been carved away, exploding rock and the lava that welled up from the planet's core. And the preliminary results indicate that energy released during the test had the destructive power of the combined batteries of a Quas-class Star Destroyer. And I meant SD, not SSD. It's not a Super Star Destroyer, it's just a Star Destroyer. That's a typo. So Tarkin range firepower easy. Now, based on these canon books, Star Destroyer firepower is in the Tarkin range. What about Star Trek? Photonic torpedoes, blah blah blah, variable yield, knock a comm array off a shuttle pod without scratching the hole, or put a 3 kilometer crater into an asteroid. And these calculations are not mine. These are some guy on the interwebs, but because I tried to do the calculations myself, and I have no idea how to do them. And in the TNG episode, we see it gets taken down, I think, by several hits from 400 gigawatts of particle energy. So I think it says, we don't know how many shots, but from the script we don't know how many shots, but we do know it's definitely in the 400 gigawatts of particle energy, so each shot, so around that, area, and their shields are taken down by that, which is pretty sad. Definitely far less powerful than turbo laser shots. And now you might think that since Star Destroyers have turbo lasers, they will not be affect the Enterprise. You are wrong if you think that. And we see right here, they're firing on us. Damage report, shields holding, mostly electromagnetic. So they are harmed by electromagnetic energy, which could mean light. And what about range? Star Destroyers are faster. Now, this quote has this point has not aged well, because I found out that the Malevolence, it cannot perform a jump shorter than 10 parsecs, or which is about 30 light years. So I think. Yeah. So, I don't know if the Star Destroyer has a similar limitation, and we don't know the specifics of that limitation, so we're not sure. But in any case, the Star Destroyer could just get away from the Enterprise and then get back, and if the Enterprise is in real space, absolutely demolish it. And then Storm Commander says very well said. It's also worth noting that IST has no acceleration of about 22,500 meters a second, or 2,300 Gs. That thing is very fast. I like that comment. In the Sci-Fi show, he says, 176 spam says, actually, someone was looking for some Ahsoka Tano porn, methinks. Star Wars loses because they're primitive. Oh, okay, so I reply and I say, you're not making any sense. Why would you come to that conclusion? And he says Star Wars loses because they're primitive, and I say, are you telling me a civilization which has existed for thousands of years is primitive? The Republic alone lasted longer than the Federation. Have already proven Imperial technology to be superior to Federation technology, and a simple statement will not suffice in disproving the mound of evidence I've provided. Perhaps this time he shall return with an argument, actual argument. And I say very cute, almost as cute as your pathetic attempt at a rebuttal. I mean, it wasn't really a rebuttal. All it was they're primitive. Then, sci-fi show. Electromagnetism isn't light. It's magnetism induced via an electric field. Electromagnetic radiation, photons, electromagnetic field, radiant energy, includes radio waves, microwaves, infrared light, ultraviolet, X, and gamma radiation. Okay, so right here in this statement, light is the only one that makes sense, because if they're firing electrons, well, then you're going to gain a massive positive charge, and you're going to attract the electrons back on you. And if you're using using basically turning your ship into a giant magnet, that doesn't make sense, because then you're going to be attracted to other ships that are using the same weapon. And the most damage you're going to be doing is going to involve moving the enemy ship around, which definitely has the potential to be useful, but still doesn't make sense. And we've seen this again, the board cutting tool, and we've also seen this right here. Reading laser activity, I will not endanger my ship. Why would it endanger a ship to fly into a war zone contested with laser weaponry? I mean, doesn't the outrageous Alcana prove that Federation starships are completely immune to lasers? No, it does not. Now, people have attempted to explain this away by saying that since Picard's order forbade interference, he had actually no intention of entering the contested zone, and his posture was a mere ploy. But his mission was to bring Riva to mediate a peace treaty, and he would have failed in that mission if he didn't fly into the contested zone and transport Riva to the surface. If the ship's navigational deflectors could really block any laser fire, regardless of magnitude, which is stupid, then they should have been able to fly into the contested zone without shields to transport Riva to the surface. Remember that the navigational deflectors is separate from the shield system and does not impede transportation. The presence of laser fire should have been completely irrelevant to Picard's mission. BlackOmegaWorks says, nowhere on screen canon does it state turbo laser power in watts. And he says this is canon. Also, this Huznut warship was not real, and nothing except probably Q could have destroyed it, not even the Death Star, as it was created by being similar to Q. Stating light is EM radiation. Okay, you know, no, I take his argument and I post it into right here, and then my counter arguments are in bold. And you probably know that by now, but still. And I said, I didn't say watts, I said teratons. This is canon. No, it isn't. Click. Close this off. Star Wars. This is a new canon of Star Wars. And Rise of the Rebellion. Ah, Ahsoka. It's in the list of canon books. What a surprise. Catalyst, also in the list of canon books. Again, what a surprise. No, it isn't. It's not a surprise. I don't know. Okay. and he said blah blah blah. And I said, your point still hammered the Enterprise. Took down the shields, actually. It's tiny amounts of energy. 400 gigawatts. It's not that tiny, but it is far less than what the Star Destroyer puts out. So comparatively tiny. Ice, when it melts, will rust metal. Ice. No, you aren't. You didn't read my reply to the other guy, did you? I assume it hasn't loaded on your site or something. I don't like repeating myself, but blah blah blah. I'm reading laser activity. Blah blah blah. Why would it? See what I mean? And then he says in this case, Star Wars would write before, since all they would need is the Ream and Scimitar, or the Dominion shield bypassing technology, and there would be a warhead on every ISD bridge, and they would never know it hit them. This is the Enterprise versus the ISD, not the entire galaxy. Besides, the thought of the Scimitar being undetectable to an ISD is laughable. The ISD could simply just spray turbo laser fire everywhere. and one shot would destroy the scimitar. If the Federation could adapt to Dominion bypass tech, then what makes you think that ISD would be vulnerable at all? Their shields don't have frequencies to exploit. And while the scimitar might be able to do what he said if the ISD was unprepared and not scanning the area, even then, do you think they can outproduce the Empire? Imperial ships would outnumber and outgun their ships in every area, and the only advantage Federation ships would have would be range. And considering the scimitars stayed within a few kilometers of the Enterprise, they might not actually have the range advantage. Although I bet that to be a limitation of the cloaking device, and I doubt other ships have that same problem. And the Empire did perfect cloaking devices. There's no way to detect them, and they can fire while cloaked. A fleet of these would demolish the Federation. Although we don't know if they have a fleet of them. We've only seen two. One was the prototype. The fact that the cloaking ships were mentioned, however, would seem to prove that they are in fact fleets of cloaked capital ships out there. Because they mentioned that the prototype was only a prototype because they hadn't worked on a cloaking device for a ship of that small size. Now, and then he replies, ISD had to manually fire its guns. That's laughable. Stellar scanners can't tell the race of humanoids on the planet. You think it could detect a ship with perfect cloak? Forgetting the scimitar didn't want to destroy the 170 because he needed the blood. Lasers are useless. Did you bother to look? You're so plainly biased. Wah wah wah. Logic would demonstrate it would not penetrate the stronger of the two. Pointing out episodes how about the time two A-Wings took down a Superstar Destroyer. And this is my last reply. Okay. And then I say, how is that? I mean, the ISD manually firing the guns, it's not that bad, you know? Because, you know, things can get jammed. And basically, the problem is, you can't knock out. Okay, ion torpedoes are able to knock out the systems of a Star Destroyer, for example, like the shields and its repulsor lift technology. But no, the important thing is they can't take out the guns and the humans. So the humans are still able to shoot. Now, if there were droids, the droids would be knocked out. So that's why they use humans. And I didn't really mention that, but you know what? It's his last reply, so I don't need to. And then, how do you think it can detect a ship with perfect cloaks? Interdictor fields. Interdictor fields can be used as cloak, stealth, detecting devices. And while true an ISD doesn't have them, the whole cloak argument is null since the Enterprise doesn't have cloaks. So if you get to use a scimitar cloak on your ships, then I get to use interdictor fields because the Empire has that. And if interdictor field detects the scimitar dies. Good game. And he says you're forgetting the scimitar didn't want to destroy the Enterprise because Shazam needed Picard's blood. Keep that in mind while you're cherry picking the parts that fit your. That's not what I was talking about. I was talking about how he stayed right next to the Enterprise. He stayed so close to the Enterprise that the Enterprise was able to fire blind and still hit him. And if the Enterprise can do that, so can a Star Destroyer. Lasers are useless to Star Trek shields. Funny how you ignore my other quote. Besides, Data didn't mention deflectors being down, did he? So it stands to reason that the deflectors might still be up. But in any case, he didn't refute my other quote, so it doesn't really matter. He's still wrong. And I haven't seen this argument in a long time, but he's talking about when two A-Wings took down a Superstar Destroyer. The entire fleet concentrated its firepower on the Superstar Destroyer, so no surprise it went down. The A-Wing just provided the killing blow after the shields were already down. And he says the 1700. So the Enterprise took a direct hit from a Romulan Valdor's wing section and kept going. And now, notice that we see that Star Trek ships are really vulnerable to getting rammed. To the point where Jem'Hadar ships will ram on purpose. No, unlike many things in Star Trek, this actually does make quite a bit of sense. Because you can't deny the laws of physics, alright? If you have a shield that stops particles, well, the energy from those particles has to go somewhere. So, when a ship hits another ship, the energy from being hit gets transferred into where to the particle shield generator. Well, it has to get transferred somewhere. probably the particle shield generator. So that will move the particle shield generator. And if the particle shield generator isn't bolted down, that means the ship will get ripped apart from the inside. And he says, this is my last reply, because I'm playing chess with a pigeon. And I said a more suitable metaphor would be that I'm playing chess and you're playing in a puddle of mud outside. Your refutations have nothing to do with the points I'm making, and you use arguments destroyed years ago. Run away, little man. Run away. I mean, he hasn't refuted like half my argument, more than half my arguments, and he was so desperate he resorted to trying to talk about different things that the Enterprise doesn't have. And even then, Galactic Empire still wins. I'll see you next time.